Welcome back to The Square. I am your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
We are back talking about football. Feels good. Everybody is in training camp now.
Yes.
It is football season.
About damn time.
In big news has broken out this week in the NFL world. So we'll get into that in a minute here. Today is the 27th, so it is Tuesday. I think training camp officially starts on Wednesday. Everybody reported on Sunday. A lot of the NFL legal jargon and days that they can start, this, that, the other.
Right. Are you going
training camp is here.
So are you going to the Vikings training camp tomorrow?
I don't think I've ever been. If I have
right
time.
Down the road.
I know. I literally
Literally
pass
right
it
down the
almost
road.
every day. We drive down that way all the time, and I literally I get to see.
And I literally pass it every day.
Oh yeah, you work over
Every
that way. So
I was just curious, just in considering that we're it
Yeah.
is here.
I've never been to it. I don't think I want to be around that many Vikings fans.
Well put. That's why I asked, are you going to say?
I mean, it would be nice. It's just Vikings fans are a different breed, and if you're not from Minnesota, you really don't know. It's
so. I'll tell the fan they are so obnoxious. Just
it's insane.
I mean the optimism. I don't even know if that's the proper word that they. It can't be optimism because it has no logic to it.
It doesn't, and that's what confuses me. Because these are also people that are Twins fans that won't cheer for anything until there is the most exciting play in the world happening, and then it immediately goes quiet again, and that's a whole nother.
You remember? Oh my God! You remember that? I don't want to get on air talk.
Yeah.
Oh my people, trust me, it's.
Vikings fans are a different breed. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Minnesota-based fans are just different.
Yeah.
In baseball and football, we'll put it that way. Basketball's
Basketball's
different.
not that bad.
And then, of course, the Wilds fans, it's just those are different breeds.
Yeah.
But, yeah, something about the Twins and the Vikings fans here, and if they're both,
Ooh.
gosh, it is the worst fan base on the planet. That's all I'm saying.
They compete pretty close with Cowboys fans.
Cowboys fans don't bother me too much.
Okay.
It's funny. I never got in a run-in with a Cowboy fan ever. I've had some people that
Speaking
did that,
of,
but never.
I guess Cowboys fans have this stigma, but I've never ran into a true like Cowboys are my team. So I will agree with you there.
I've been to Dallas
run into
3
one.
times and never ran into a Cowboys.
Really?
Fan. Like just a bleeding heart one.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lie. I have ran into one. And he was actually pretty cool. So I'm not gonna.
But I've heard about that, but I've never experienced. Now I got into it with a bunch of cheeseheads, and I'm talking about during Super Bowl time.
Yeah,
and that's you really have to. It's almost at the level of what we're dealing with here. I mean, but it's 10 times that.
I mean, for as much as I hate the Packers, it's not because of their fans. It's just because they keep breaking my heart. And because I've ran into quite a few Packers fans, and every single Packer fan that I know, I'm cool with. Like,
you know what most Packer fans do? You already know. They just gonna put on their flags, and let that speak for itself.
They literally go put on that cheese hat. They go put on their Aaron Rodgers
cheese hat thing. Yeah, I say that for the stadium. Unfortunately, I ain't seen nobody walking around with that nonsense.
I'm messing with them.
Right. But yeah, I mean, which even as a Bears fan, I mean, in most respectable Bears fans respect this. Like it's a respect thing.
Yeah.
When you see winning franchises, man, you ain't got to say a whole lot. The history speaks for itself.
True.
So yeah, Minnesota. I guess until you get a history.
I think that's the thing for me is because the Vikings fans that I know, they try to come at me for being a Bears fan, and I'm like, dude, at least I got a chip. Like, it wasn't during my lifetime, but still.
I mean, at least we've been there twice. I mean.
At least we're not 0 for 4.
I know they could be like, we've been there 4 times. I mean, yeah. What about in your lifetime though?
True.
That's all I want to know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've been there twice. I've in my lifetime I've seen them once.
Because I mean, just imagine these poor Bulls fans now. These millennial Bulls fans.
You're telling me?
Oh my God, we have 6 chips. How many did you see? None.
Not a single one.
Oh my God, you missed the golden era. But
Hey,
my point being,
I will say,
no. My point being, yeah, you did.
I got to see one. Well, no, I went back and watched them, but
Right.
during my lifetime, I was around for the last one.
Yeah, you watched. Yeah. You in the
I
bed
was on
sleep.
this earth.
You in the bed, breathing, sleep, unconscious to everything around you. I don't know. What are you? 6 months?
Less than. I think it was like 3 months old at the time.
May, June. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, you may have been 1 month. 1 month and a half.
Month and a half. Oh yeah, because back then it probably was around
June.
June.
In June.
Yeah.
Jeez, you weren't even a month old.
Jeez.
I think I was holding you when they were. I think I told you. Moving on. That was a long time ago.
Oh man. All right. Well, back to football.
Back to football.
Yes.
How did we even get to basketball?
We were talking about
Jeez.
But football season is technically now in full swing, and now, especially now that the NBA Finals is over, yes. I'm devoting most of about 90% of my time to football, whether that's fantasy or actual football. That remains to be seen, but it is always going to be football related from probably here until the end of the season, outside of the NBA free agency. So
effortless work here.
Yeah. Oh, literally just get to watch football, and that is what is the best.
That's the job. I'm working, man. I want to watch this stuff.
Exactly. Today we are going to continue our series of divisional previews. We take our trip down to the AFC South. Surprisingly, not the worst division in football. We talked about that last week.
No, it's not actually.
No, but I think there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the AFC South, and I think it's kind of a toss-up of a division, and we'll get into that in a second. But we will be discussing division winners as we have, and kind of predicting the outcomes of this division, some biggest addition and subtraction, and honestly, I think we're going to spend most of our time with the storylines coming out of this division at this time as well.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and dive right into that. First things first, if we're going to talk about storylines, big news came out this week. Deshaun Watson reports to training camp. Kind of expected that. He said that he didn't want to pay the $50,000 fine. Literally, the only reason why he's there. But they did apparently have some sort of a meeting when he reported to training camp on Sunday, either Sunday or Monday. They had a discussion, and now it seems like Houston is finally, after 6, 7, 8 months now. God, it's been so long. They're finally on the board on our side saying, Deshaun Watson, we are willing to trade you.
Wow.
So it took all that.
2 words. Justin Fields.
Yeah.
We are so
I got 2 words.
That.
Russell Watson.
Russell Watson.
So
wow.
I think that's huge news. Deshaun Watson is more than likely going to be on the move. I know we're not going to get into the whole legal aspect of what's going on with Deshaun Watson, but with that is going to create some hurdles for this franchise to move him. So that is still remaining to be seen. But I do suspect, with everything that's happening, that we will see Russell Watson. Sorry.
Wow.
Deshaun Watson.
Like you really said.
Yeah. No, Deshaun Watson on the move before the start of the season. I don't know which team it's going to be as it stands right now, but I do think he will not be in a Houston uniform week 1.
Interesting.
So that's my bold take there. But let's talk division winners, or where do you want to start with this?
With the South? Jeez. I mean, we can. I don't necessarily want to come out the gate with predictions, but
okay. Well, then let's talk storylines and additions and subtractions to start here. And I guess we already started talking about it. Houston. My number one question when I was doing the preview for this was literally last week. So my number one question was, will Deshaun Watson report to training camp? And that is answered. Yes, he will. He is at training camp, so that's big. And then
any idea what his role is supposed to be, as far as he's there, but like
I think he's taken the approach of I'm here. I think he's literally taking the Marshawn Lynch approach. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
I think he's not.
Is he taking first?
I don't think he's
taking
any reps.
like that?
I think he is literally sitting on the sideline with his helmet.
On, just drinking Gatorade and sipping on water.
Hey,
talking.
Tyrod, nice to see you.
Yep. You don't tish your hip on that one. Okay.
No, I don't think he's giving any pointers. I think he's just sitting there like, cool. Like
gotcha.
all my friends are gone. JJ Watt's gone. DeAndre Hopkins gone. Like I think he's done. He's ready to move on. And I think the discussion that he had is we are ready to move on. We understand we're not going to have you regardless. So we will see what we can do to move you. Depending on if that happens or not, that remains to be seen. So, but the question was, will he report? And yes, he will. He's not willing to take the $50,000 because Houston is petty. The other question that I had for this team is, well, initially, I've been hearing rumblings that from online, Houston isn't really saying that they're in a rebuild yet, which
what?
I was shocked to see. So I'm ready to say that this team isn't a full-fledged rebuild, especially now that you don't have that you're willing to move Deshaun Watson. So
they're in one whether they declare it or not. So
okay.
It's been a fire sale for the last 2 years without them even realizing it.
Well, they do have some key, and I guess I would somewhat understand because I do have a pretty high outlook on Tyrod Taylor. Bringing him in is, I think, serviceable, and I think he can keep your team afloat. I mean, if you're just looking back what he did the last time or before he got his lung punctured by a doctor back in Cleveland, before he got injured there, he was playing actually pretty good football despite Freddie Kitchens being a horrible head coach.
Right.
So, I mean, I think I still have a pretty high outlook on Tyrod Taylor. I think I have a higher outlook on Tyrod Taylor than most do. But clearly they've lost J.J. Watt and Will Fuller. But then they bring in Tyrod Taylor and then the rookie Davis Mills as well. And Phillip Lindsay, I would say, is their other big addition. So I don't know if they're trying to say that they're in the same spot and they're in a good state with where they're at. I don't believe that, especially now that you lose Deshaun Watson. I'm not sold on their defense by any means, and offensively, there's a lot of work that needs to kind of be built around Tyrod Taylor for him to be successful still.
Look, keep it in mind, there's a couple of more offensive weapons on there. Not the super big giant.
They did just get Anthony Miller.
I know, but there's a name you didn't mention. Rex Burkhead is over there now.
True.
He's over there, and they do have Chris Conley, wide receiver. Not just some serviceable people. Hear me out. Chris Conley and Dante Moncrief. These were some serviceable number 3, number 4 guys, respectively, where they came from. Chris Conley just came from Jacksonville by way of Kansas City. Dante Moncrief, he just came from New England by way of Indianapolis, and and they both have had their moments. I'm just saying from a depth. I guess I look at it from, if you want to say, they're giving Tyrod Taylor all the weapons they can possibly give him. Considering what their budget was working with, I was actually pretty impressed. I'm like, when you put it all together, like from an offensive standpoint, I'm like, wow. At least they went out there and grabbed somebody. They didn't go out there. You know how you get that one signing and then all of a sudden everything else is just practice players, and they didn't do that. And I was like, so
they really did try to put a team around them. So
I'm like,
they did what they could.
They're doing nothing like. So I agree with what you're saying. I think they are in a full rebuild.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think from a PR standpoint, I think they don't want to. They don't want to
say
there.
it.
No, for whatever reason.
All right.
Scared. Not that I don't think you could scare them any further, but don't want to scare your season ticket holders off. Look at the team. What the hell just happened in the last 6 months? I'd have been the first one, like, man, refund. I don't want none of these games. I mean, I don't want a complimentary preseason game tickets. I don't want nothing. I'm good.
I want nothing to do with Houston.
I'm good. Where do Deshaun Watson go? I go with him. I'm out of here. I'm not watching y'all. I'm here to watch. Let's be real clear. I watched this guy play with these players.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Man.
with that, I man, if they found a way to keep Deshaun Watson, I'm not trying to change the storyline. I'm just saying with these people, I'm like, ooh, okay. Houston is not necessarily a playoff team, but hell, they ain't in the cellar no more. That's all I was getting at. But with that being said, I'm saying with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, no, I'm still looking at it. I'm like, man,
but
because my other thing is that we're talking about offensively. Yeah, Deshaun Watson can definitely carry a team offensively, and that offense would be probably top 15, top 12, maybe.
Yeah, you pushing.
That's why I'm going higher register with that one. It's getting close.
Ooh, I said they got some pieces, but man,
but I do think Phillip Lindsay does bring a lot to the running game, and Rex Burkhead is that kind of change of pace back. So yeah. I do kind of like that. Obviously, who the hell are you throwing to? But but with that,
Anthony Miller, Dante Moncrief, Chris Conley,
who no,
and who was still there when
Randall Cobb
left? Oh no!
But Randall Cobb is apparently getting traded to the Packers. I think that was a part of Aaron Rodgers' whole. We'll get to the NFC North in a few
4 weeks. That's weeks from now. Stop it.
But there is stuff going on there.
So much more to talk about, being anyway.
Yeah, true. But it does sound like Randall Cobb is going to be on the move. But they did get Anthony Miller, so I guess is Anthony Miller technically their number one if Randall Cobb is not there?
That's a good question. I don't know, because
I will say we've had a very close look at Anthony Miller over the last 3 years. Man, it is disappointing. And is it just he needs to change his injury? Is it like he just couldn't function under Allen Robinson? Because it was literally just Allen Robinson. It was supposed to be Anthony Miller's as number 2, and then Darnell Mooney broke out.
Sorry, for whatever reason. Sorry. It just there was rumblings about he wasn't following the playbook properly. He just wasn't picking it up.
Yeah.
And he changed routes in the middle of the routes. He improvised, but his improvising did not fit what they were trying to do. And I'm like, dude, you're in Chicago. Run the plays the way they write them. You know what I'm saying? We don't run no exotic offense, where all of that, where again, a team that got nothing, man, this dude might have a bounce back player of the year,
maybe.
You just never know. But he could.
With Tyrod Taylor too. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but still, Tyrod Taylor he's a very serviceable quarterback. I think people underrate him. I know he's had a lot of injuries and a lot of things go wrong. Most of those injuries, not his fault. Obviously, Houston has a horrible offensive line, so you are worried about Tyrod Taylor standing back there. But, man, I think that if he is able to play 17 games this season, you're going to look at a dude that's probably in the top half of the league in QBR next year.
If I run off some of these wide receiver names to you, you gone.
Well, that's not even. I'm gonna go in.
I think I've named the best ones already.
True.
That's
okay.
So you asked a very good question. Would he be? Arguably, yes.
Okay.
They traded for him. I'm like, well, let's start putting the pieces together.
Didn't give up much for him. So.
Yeah, you was not.
I'm not
disappointed that deal.
I'm disappointed that it was a pick swap. I just wish they would have got a pick straight up back for him. I think that's where I have an issue. I feel like we shouldn't have to give back a pick to send off.
It was him and a pick.
That from what I read,
I thought it was him just
because they haven't come out with the official. This is exactly what happened because we still don't even know what pick we got back for him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
From what because that's what I was trying to tell you because it was through text, so it didn't really make too much sense. But I have it from what I read, I think it was a pick swap in Allen Robinson. Not Allen Robinson. Oof. That would have been horrible. Anthony Miller.
That would have been the Bears.
So
I'm used to that kind
of looking at that, I was like, okay, we can do a pick swap. That's fine. But we should have gotten back another pick. Like, I do think that Anthony Miller is still worth a late round pick.
Right.
Like, I don't think we should have to give up a pick and him to just get one pick in return. I think that if that's the case, that is a bad value trade.
I see what you're saying. I would have just kept him.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying to you. I was like, yeah, in that case, I would have just kept what he possibly could be.
Right.
If we had to give up another pick for it.
Let his contract expire and send him on his way.
Yeah.
Be done with him.
So
I mean, if we can sit there and hold down Rawls on our Rawls on our
Ryan
damn roster.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I put it all together and said Rawls. But yeah, then I mean, would it really behoove us to keep him one more season? But again, with that being said, moving forward,
I mean, and I guess one thing I will say, I am still interested to see if Anthony Miller can have a successful career, because I do like him. I mean, as a guy that's been on this roster and watching him so closely the last 3 years, I do see the potential being there. It's just a matter of if he can put it all together, and I don't know if Houston's the best place for that, but hey, he didn't have a say. So
no, I did like they did have some notable pickups on the defensive end, and I thought that hell, it would help any team.
Please enlighten me.
Well, I mean, at edge they picked up Shaq Lawson, and I'm saying what's notable for
Houston. Okay.
Dude,
did
you see breaking news flashing across your phone anytime in the last 8 weeks with Houston written over it and not Deshaun Watson? No, it just come on.
That's why I said enlighten me. I want to see what you got.
It's a segment. Okay, all right. Got Shaq Lawson at the edge, who came over from Miami. Cornerback Terrence Mitchell from Cleveland.
Okay.
And who else do I got? That's the only two defensive. That was the only two notable defensive players. But I have one other notable player that I think was probably going to be virtually one of the more valuable pickups that they brought in. They brought in Cameron Johnston from Philadelphia.
Okay.
Punter.
Yeah, it's going to be huge for them.
Enough said. They're gonna need him. They're gonna need that guy.
He's gonna work out that leg.
I'm not trying to. I'm really not trying to roast this team, but when I say, I'm like, huh.
And I do agree with you. Weapons wise, Tyrod Taylor, Phillip Lindsay, Rex Burkhead, Anthony Miller potentially, and whoever else kind of shows up. Maybe Dante Moncrief.
Well, you did say Mark Ingram. I mean.
Oh yeah, Mark Ingram
I guess
too.
He's going to be a mentor because
I think this is going to be the last couple of years here. But with that, I'm just like, okay, we'll see. Like offensively, if they can get going, but defensively, I don't think that their offensive line, for one, is going to stop them from scoring points. Their offensive line is putrid, and then you're looking at a defense that is honestly, to me, is kind of in line with Dallas's defense.
Yeah. I don't think anybody can get in line with that because they designed that defense and they just got to. Well, let's just say Texas is struggling defensively.
It's true.
Just leave it at that. It doesn't even matter the reasoning, but yeah, they're both about where they, 30 and 31, 32 and 31, in ranked defenses. I mean, yeah.
I mean, they tried getting defensive guys. They got Kevin Pierre-Louis, Terrence Mitchell. They went to go get Jordan Jenkins.
I mean, don't forget about they got a couple of late round draft picks. Where they got Garrett Wallow in the 5th. Huh?
So their draft was horrible.
I mean, but I'm just going based on what they were able to grab.
No, I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? It's
they didn't have a really good selection in the first place.
No, they were in a fantasy snake draft, and you're not allowed to start until to round 5. Like what?
Yeah. They did it to themselves. So
right, but I mean, they had Garrett Wallow, the linebacker, in the 5th, and then a defensive tackle, Ryan Lopez. I don't know if these.
I mean, based off of their defense, they might actually get some playing time this year. So.
Yeah, I just, you got to put it all together and squint at it. Look at it too,
Don't look at it too long.
Yeah, so so it can look somewhat acceptable.
Okay.
But, yeah. But that's Houston. So
let's talk Jacksonville. I mean, this is the startup of the division, I guess you would say. They're I think they're a step ahead of Houston. I think they were in full-fledged
steps.
they were full.
You said a step. You said a step. Like one step, huh? Really? I'm like,
I'm
think
trying
think
not to rag on
higher
Houston.
just think higher of Jacksonville. Just for the moment, since we're talking about them, just think a little bit better of them. I mean, he said, I think they're one step.
I was
they're one step. Like that's it.
I'm trying not to rag on Houston.
You didn't have to. You just could have kept going. Don't say one. I mean, but don't. Let's not disrespect Jacksonville in the process. Dang. I mean, let's be real. They way more than one step. I'm sorry. Even if it's Jacksonville, like, yeah, Jacksonville. That's how much better position they're in. You know, and they had a much better draft. They had a much better offseason. They had a much better everything going on. Houston is man. They are.
I'm gonna just say this: Houston is on 32 of my power rankings. I think we agree.
They have been pushed off the. Oh man, they are. Look, their floor and ceiling is 32.
Ooh, Jesus!
They are not going anywhere. I mean, this just they can just dial this season.
You think that highly of
Atlanta? Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't. I think that accurately about Houston. This just look. They got to just play this season just to get to the next one.
True.
Because it don't even begin until next year for them. Unfortunately, and you still got the Deshaun Watson thing hanging over. This is a mess.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a good situation.
They needed to just say, let's just forfeit this year. Like, we just going to just bow out this
Better
year.
to the same face.
I'm just like,
not even play the game.
You got to do an NCAA thing.
Give us the 0-16. We'll take it. No.
We're just going to take an honorary 0-16, 0-18, 0-17.
17.
We'll be the first 0-17 team ever.
And didn't even need to play a game.
Didn't hit the field once.
All right. Jacksonville, though, yes, is... They've got promise. They've got Trevor Lawrence has arrived. I mean, that he's at training camp. He's throwing touchdown passes to Tim Tebow.
Hair is
flowing. They're in a good situation out there in Jacksonville. Biggest additions, obviously, Trevor Lawrence is one, rookie QB. Defensively, they picked up Shaq Griffin, which I think was kind of an underrated signing at the time. And then they ended up with Marvin Jones at wide receiver, giving Trevor Lawrence another weapon.
The free agency. I thought you said draft.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I meant free agency. And then Carlos Hyde as well at running back to back up Robinson. So I think those are big. I mean, the only guy that they really lost of note.
Come on. You're not going to you gonna go give my man Philip Dorsett no love there?
Wide receiver wise, I would take Marvin Jones over Philip Dorsett, but.
You know what I've noticed? If a wide receiver is anywhere in the vicinity of 4, 5, or 6 on the depth chart, you give no mention to these people whatsoever. No, 100% of the time. I'm just gonna throw that out there, just to put that in your head now.
All right. I think the biggest really the only guy that they lost of note is Tyler Eifert. I mean, the other guys that they lost were guys that honestly I don't even know if they got signed elsewhere. So.
Oh man, but you can't believe out the Damian Wilson, the defensive end linebacker, came from the Chiefs. I'm sorry, anything coming from Kansas City is a value piece to me.
True, fair.
I'm like everybody can't stay on the team. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Not a bad pickup. I like. Man, of course I already told you how much I like their draft, but then I started going through their free agent offseason. I'm like, man. I actually like Jacksonville this year. I like them to be, a legitimate turnaround team. Like, not saying they're finna start. Oh my God, they went out here and win 19 games. Stop that. It's not based on win losses. It's based on this team can actually compete now.
Yeah,
that's
they're not getting blown out by teams. It's not a cakewalk when you come in.
Right,
it's
not like man. After this first quarter, it's gonna be pretty much over for you. It's not necessarily gonna be that. I think
maybe against Kansas City and Tampa Bay.
Certain games, they're gonna be more competitive. It is what it is, Like
that's just about everybody else in the league anyway.
Unfortunately, y'all gonna really look bad. I'm sorry. You are Jacksonville. You know who you are. You're not Houston, but you know who you are.
I think the biggest question that I have for Jacksonville this season, or kind of looking forward, is just how long do you think this rebuild is going to take with Trevor Lawrence at the helm? Like, realistically, outlook. Obviously, I mean, both of us agree they're not a playoff team this year. When do you think that they'll be close to being in that wild card talk? When we get to weeks, what is it now? 14, 15, 16, are we like, when are we gonna be able to say, oh, Jacksonville is a legitimate contender of in these last few weeks? We got to watch out for them to steal one of these spots in the wild card. How long do you think that might take?
Ups and downs, some adds, some drops, injuries, whatever the case. I might have to say a minimum 3 seasons.
Okay,
I give them 3 more years because I mean this, at least I think they embraced it, like, and they're a rebuild team, and they don't have a problem with that. They were 1-15 last year. I mean, killed the draft, serviceable free agency. They have a nice young team.
Do you expect Tim Tebow to make the roster?
Oh, I don't know. I hope he does, though. I don't, because for me, for how I'm evaluating him, I don't know if with this Urban Meyer thing, like, is it really going to be based on his performance only?
With everything happening in Jacksonville right now, I'm more, as the days go by, I'm more like getting lower and lower on Urban Meyer as a head coach in the NFL.
Are you?
Yeah.
But I haven't seen him do anything, and I mean, I'm not necessarily. I didn't bring his name up to like name drop him as like, oh my God, it's Urban Meyer. No, because I've seen a lot of college coaches come to the NFL. Oh my God, it's horrible. It just does not work.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Saban even tried it. It did not work.
He was decent. I think once he got that offer from Alabama, he was just like, I can't pass up on that.
No, I get that.
Because even in Miami, he wasn't a horrible Miami head coach. I mean, what they were like 5 and whatever. What is it now? 5-11. Just the new schedule is throwing me off on.
I know. Even if you said, I'll just correct it back. 5-12.
Yeah. So I mean, well, back then it would have been 5-11. So like, I don't think that he was a horrible head coach. He was there for 1 season. Like, it was just like, I wish we would have seen more of him, because he was fantastic with being a D coordinator over in Cleveland with Bill Belichick.
Right. I mean, but the same thing came up with Steve Spurrier with Florida.
True.
And I mean, oh my God, did he struggle? I mean, it's just.
Oh, and who was the one from Atlanta?
Oh,
I can't remember his name. That's a dumpster fire. If you don't know that story, go on to YouTube. I
forgot his name.
It's a channel called Secret Base. I'm just shouting them out. This is not an ad by any means. That's just they have a whole story on him.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name, but you'll find it there at some point. And they have a whole story on exactly what happened with him in Atlanta.
Okay.
Absolutely insane story. It's
wow.
So good.
Gotcha.
So back to Jacksonville though.
Mm-hmm.
I just, with Urban Meyer, I think when he is initially hired, I was kind of like, okay, I really want to see how this works out. But the decision making that he's had so far, it seems like he's trying so hard to treat it like college football that it's just not going to work out. I don't think he realizes. I think he's now getting that realization, like, hey, like, I cannot do the same thing, but I just don't know if he can make the adjustment to make the right decisions moving forward to get this team back to winning football, because he's trying to overwork the players. He's already been fine. I think Jacksonville's been fine the most for extending workouts and putting on pads when they weren't supposed to, and a bunch of different things that they were fined for violating like NFLPA regulations and whatnot. And then the whole situation with him hiring his D coordinator, who has a bunch of allegations out on him. He thought he could just kind of force him through. And obviously that's not how the NFL works. Like, no, if you get called on whatever BS you're doing out there, you have to own up. You can't cover up for these people. They're their own men. They're not just some dudes under your staff.
Right.
They're their own people, and they have to answer for whatever they do. And you felt like you could just kind of push it in just because, for whatever reason. Right. And I just think he's treating it too much like college football, that it's just not going to work.
I can't argue or debate that, because college coaches, again, do not have a good track record. I was just the optimism of, man, if it hits, hey,
I mean, with the roster that it has and the state of their rebuild, I don't think it's going to hurt them by any means.
No,
if they do decide to move off,
move away from, let's tie this all the way back around to Tebow.
So
I'll say all of that. Let you say all of that just to say, it's a very good chance he could be on the team, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be solely on just football alone. Because I mean, Jacksonville, they got that contract in London.
Mm-hmm. They already put Tebow's jersey
to keep you relevant and keep you in the league, and not they try to declassify Jacksonville is somewhere else. I mean, they was the dispatcher team. I mean, but they could expand on somewhere else. You'd be gone. It could be 5 years from now. Remember Jacksonville used to have a team? I mean, because it used to. It happens, So I like the idea that I don't think I think Tebow had got a bum rap. Like, why is he? Yeah, he played like crap, like in an efficient from an efficiency standpoint, but he won games, and I've seen people do a lot less than him stay in the league. Like, so why not keep him?
But he's also not playing quarterback.
I understand it, and that's fine. I'm like, he's a superior athlete unless you could tell me he can't catch.
No, I agree with it. I'm gonna have to see him in preseason,
and they were just so, oh my god, dead set against it, and this and that, and it's just
because to me, I feel like in the NFL, if you can't get it done, you can't get it done, and that's exactly what happened to him in his first go around in the NFL. He wasn't able to throw. He wasn't able to finish things off, and yes, Tebow time was a thing for what was that, 2 months. And yeah, they won a playoff game versus Pittsburgh, and
hey, that's a contract.
He did. He got 2 contracts after that, and
a long-term contract. I mean, I'm saying something with a little more stability, but I mean, I understand it's the NFL and there is no stability. You know what I mean? It was just, I get it. It's just one of those. Man, I always thought they would have gave him another shot, and I mean, and I'm saying this thinking about it in my mind, a Colin Kaepernick. It's multiple. This is just one of several stories of why in the hell is he not in the league? I'm sure you're telling me he can't do anything in the NFL. Like, he's a football player.
If he can play, because that's what I was getting at. If he can play, if he couldn't play, he's not going to make the roster, and the team won't let Urban Meyer just put him in on the roster, because that 53rd spot is a very, very valuable spot in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So if you're not able to perform, if you're not able to bring value to the team, the players will let you know, and we'll see early on in the year if that's the case, if Tebow is on the roster,
right?
Because that'll immediately have a bunch of guys check out if they're watching this dude in practice and he's literally just not bringing it, and he's on the roster just taking up a spot just so that we can get a couple extra $1,000 for people to come watch him at the beginning of the year, because the fans, even at the end of the year, if he's still on the roster and he's still playing like crap, that's not going to be any draw to come in to come watch him just because of the name. Like,
true, but then I guess finally their PR will start to kick in, and like, okay, you do have a franchise quarterback y'all did draft that you should be focusing and targeting
exactly
most of your information on. So that's why I'm saying I really don't know, because I think part of the Tebow thing is part of the PR stunt to a degree. Now I don't think it's a all out one, but
I hope it's not.
It's just one of those, I don't know what to take from that. Yeah. So we remains to be seen. I think it'd be interesting, because it's Jacksonville, and I'm like, I like what they've been doing anyway. I'm like, hell, throw Tebow in there too. I'm like, why not? I mean, hell, if anything, Houston.
Okay,
I need help everywhere.
All right, let's move on to the more promising half of this division.
Okay, we dealt with the.
Let's go with the top half of this division. Two teams that I'm gonna just ask this. I'm throwing this out there as I believe you have them this high, but 2 teams in the top half of the league at least.
I got both of them in the top 10.
Ooh, I think I updated mine. I'll have to look to see where I have them.
I told you I slightly updated these things.
Okay,
yeah. I
did a full update on my power ranking, so based off of everything, because we had that whole conversation. I know. So
I'm just saying, every 3 weeks or so, we're gonna have to at least come back to it at some point, either whether
and I think in the next couple of weeks, you guys will be able to. We'll have a full-fledged new power ranking show as the preseason is rolling through.
Listen, pay no attention to the first one.
So, so that all will come. So we do both have them in the top half of the league, so that's good to know. Yeah. But these 2, I think, are going to be 2 teams that I'm pretty high on. I like both of them. I like both of the rosters here. So let's start with Indy.
Yeah. Let's go with them.
Carson Wentz. It's Carson Wentz show now. Taking over Indianapolis.
Take it away.
I mean, I guess the questions are: as the Carson Wentz era for Indianapolis begins, how much rope are they going to give him?
That's a very good question. If I had to answer that, I would think that they were all in, and they would just. I think they're gonna ride or die with this guy.
Okay.
This year. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they got somebody in the reserve. Like, hey, if this guy even shows,
be ready.
Yeah, if that's that team, if Indianapolis shows themselves to be that team, I am completely out on this team going forward. You know, I'm like, dude, I'm not a big Carson Wentz fan, but unfortunately, when it comes down to processes and evaluations, man, if you don't do this thing right, I don't care who the guy is. You know, I'm not putting it on the guy. I'm putting it on y'all now. You know, it's like, give this man, because part of the issue, his MO has been, we seen what's going on in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is just a shit show. Really.
Now, the other question I would have is, so Phillip Rivers was the quarterback of this team. He was the leader of this team last year. Where do you place Carson Wentz on that list with him? Is he an upgrade? Is this a downgrade? Is this a lateral move? Where do you see that trajectory for them?
If we're looking at like
all together.
Okay, upside. Ceiling. Carson Wentz obviously has a bit of a ceiling. Phillip Rivers didn't have anything. It was just his floor. That was all we were dealing with. He's on his way out. You know,
he literally said he was retiring. After
right. I get he was a talent, but he was on his way out. And Carson Wentz is not on his way out. And Carson Wentz had a season or two questionable, definitely last year. It just wasn't a good year. Does not mean his career is over. I mean, you shared. I've seen when he was on that little moment, he looked damn good, but he didn't sustain it. And it would have been. He was on that trajectory.
Yeah, if he didn't get injured, he was winning that MVP. The only thing that was going to stop him was injury, and that's exactly what happened.
Absolutely not, because if that's the case, Russell Wilson should have 4 of them by now.
I agree with you, but
they're never going to give Russell Wilson an MVP. I'm sorry. There's nothing he can do to get one.
He got his first MVP vote last year.
Only took 9
after
seasons.
Everything that he's done. That's a whole different
just
conversation.
Took 9 years to get that one. That's what I'm getting at. It does not matter what he does. He can. It does not matter. They're never gonna. Never. Well, it's just
once he gets out of Seattle, maybe. That's another conversation. We'll get to the NFC West in a bit.
But back to what were you asking me?
Just where do you see Carson Wentz in relation to Phillip Rivers last year?
So I said that to say I do believe, not by leaps and boundaries, but I do think it's an upgrade.
Okay.
I'll tell you, and I'm not, you know, I'm trying to be fair. I mean, Wentz is, he's a decent player. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not, you know, high on him and all this, but he can play. And if giving him the right circumstances, the right pieces, giving him Indianapolis, who's the right circumstances and the right pieces and all this stuff and all these weapons, and okay, if they play badly, then I can solely say, okay, it's you, and that's fine. But I'm not even sitting back expecting that. That's the thing. It's just like, okay, dude, you should be able to roll with this.
Looking
team.
at this roster, man,
you don't even have to be a superstar. You could just go out there and be a game manager. Damn, really, and
do what Phillip Rivers did, and you're back in the playoffs.
Be Garoppolo, be Rivers. That's all you have to be. You know, like,
that's not much.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying. You don't just show up.
Yeah.
And
put on the uniform.
Hike the ball, throw the ball.
You don't even have to. This backfield is insane.
Oh, gosh. Go. Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, who is a breakout rookie last year, definitely has a lot of upside. I think he's being grossly overvalued in fantasy, but that's just a whole nother conversation. I do think he does bring a lot to an NFL roster. And then you have Nyheim Hines coming back, still fully healthy, just to back up Jonathan Taylor. Huge ad there.
Nice change.
And then, boom, you finally get back Marlon Mack, who was what Nyheim Hines was. He was what Jonathan Taylor was before Jonathan Taylor. Like, and just like this backfield is just insane. Like, they literally they honestly could give Baltimore a run for their money when it comes to rushing offense.
I was gonna say it. If they really wanted to, at least I wouldn't go with this the whole way, but they can really, really explore ground and pound.
Especially with the fact that they also signed Eric Fisher. as a left tackle.
Yes,
to beef up the offensive line.
It's on my list too.
Like,
yes,
that
right under Carson Wentz.
Absolutely massive.
I thought he was the second biggest pickup for them after Wentz. It was them. Eric Fisher. I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, I guess yeah. Okay,
I'm just saying Carson
because my next guy would be Kwity Paye, but
I'm saying from a free agency aspect.
Yeah,
you know.
Okay.
You can blend in your draft pick. That's fine. And
no,
I don't have a problem with that.
I would probably have
Kwity
Paye higher than Eric Fisher. I would have Kwity Paye lower than Eric Fisher only because Kwity Paye is now he's basically just adding an insane amount of depth to this defense.
Put him second. Put him third. I'll just
start him if you want to.
That's what I'm saying. With Carson Wentz, Eric Fisher, and Kwity Paye, those are your three biggest signings anyway. Yeah. I mean,
and they didn't lose. Who did they lose? Nobody. Like this team is coming back only like they literally are only getting better.
Yeah, man, they look damn good.
And if Carson Wentz can just not do it, as long as he doesn't do what he did last year, even if he goes back to 2019 Carson Wentz.
Right.
I think that'll get them. That's better play than who just left? Phillip Rivers. God, I don't know why I was thinking Phillip Lindsay. So if he just plays back like 2019, that's better play than I think Phillip Rivers was last year. In all honesty, if you're taking that whole Philadelphia situation in its full context, what Carson Wentz did with that Philly team in 2019 was absolutely insane. So bringing that over and playing him in that role, if he can do that with the weapons that are around him. Now I do wish that they would have gotten some more receiver talent around him so that in the passing game he could be a little bit more effective. But I know Chris Ballard is really big on. He's very frugal with his salary cap space. So I knew he wasn't going to go all out and spend a ton of money on somebody super flashy. When the reports were coming out that they were going to go really hard after Julio Jones, I was like, I just don't see. I don't see Chris Ballard being the guy to make that move. And it's not because he isn't a good GM who can really kind of make that trade happen. I think it's just a matter of he's not going to spend that extra money or that extra capital to go for a flashy guy. He really is one of those analytic guys he needs to see the numbers before he pulls the trigger on that. But with that being said, Michael Pittman, if he can have a breakout sophomore year, T.Y. Hilton, hoping that he can stay healthy, obviously. And then who's 3-4 over there?
George, receivers?
Yeah.
Oh, Pascal.
Eric Pascal. Okay.
Zach Pascal, and who was 4? You're really going down the depth chart now.
Yeah. But even with that, I mean, I think that's still I think that's enough. Because they still have tight ends over there, and again, I think that Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor can play out of the backfield as receivers as well. So which actually going back to Jacksonville for a quick second. Huh?
But you didn't even name the tight ends, but keep going.
I wanted to mention something about Jacksonville for a quick second.
Go ahead.
Apparently Jacksonville might be trying to put Travis Etienne as wide receiver instead of running back.
Are they seriously? I know they said that some weeks ago, but they seriously trying to consider this dude a receiver.
It might be, yes, he will play in the backfield at points, but with Robinson being back there, if they want to play and have a dual threat with those two on the field, they'll put Travis Etienne at receiver.
Interesting.
So I just thought that was a little bit of a tidbit that came out this past week that I think was pretty interesting.
It's really interesting considering they have receivers.
Too.
It's like, okay, who's sitting down? It's just interesting. Okay, maybe they deep like that now. Like I said, they're an interesting team.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
Let's
see how it go.
Back to the Colts here though. If they could get it put all together, I mean, this one I did go a little bit more conservative with when I was making my predictions and whatnot. But I do think that if they could put it together, they could really take over this division. Especially if Carson Wentz goes back to at least 2019, if he goes back to 2017, Carson Wentz, this team is about to win the Super Bowl.
All right, pump your brakes. You just,
hey, your Kansas City Chiefs are about to be.
Your head. No, stop. Not even losing any sleep over that. Stop.
You will if they start winning games.
Oh boy, here you go with the Carson Wentz nonsense here. All
It's
right,
not nonsense.
Yeah, okay. They don't want none of these. They don't want none of this Kansas City.
But what I'm saying is that this roster, if Carson Wentz is just 2019 Carson Wentz,
right,
that itself, they've already are in the playoffs. I think that puts them in the top 4 of the AFC.
The other player we were thinking of was Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell, yes. That's still he's even
and JJ Nelson.
I mean, he can be a number 3. So I'm not
exactly.
I'm not. I think that they have a really, really nice situation. Again, like I said, I wish they have that bona fide number 1 guy that can stay healthy. Unfortunately, T.Y. Hilton, that's not you anymore. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully he does get back to being getting to play 17 games. But that is remaining to be seen. Do you have anything else on Indianapolis you want to discuss before we get to
here?
Tennessee
Just
and
some honorable mentions. Nice pickup with left guard Chris Reed from Carolina, as well as
more O-line depth.
Yep, and Isaac Rochelle from the Chargers. Inside defensive lineman. So I just thought, I again taking they had a nice roster coming into the offseason, and then and after the draft and as the free agency went on throughout the offseason, I mean they had a damn nice team. Now I looked at that schedule and and then it's the first year, so it's gonna get a little dicey when we get to those things. So but it's gonna be an interesting year, I have to say. But I do expect a lot. I do expect some good and great things out of this team this year.
Yeah.
So, but I do also expect some growing pains. So that's gonna explain my variations in some of this predictions. But go ahead. That's basically all I wanted to say. And kicker Eddie Pinero.
Yeah, they did pick up Pinero, which I do think. I mean, he was good with us. He did not have a bad stint with us. I just think Cairo Santos stole the show in Chicago. So I am excited to see what he can do over there. It's especially with Adam Vinatieri finally retiring.
Was he 57? Did he went on the mountain.
He's up there. I think it was. Honestly, I think it was 47, 48. Man, he played for a while.
Climbed up that mountain, was never seen again.
Yeah, but I mean, he is the all-time leading scorer, I believe. So I with him retiring now, Eddie Pinero, those are big shoes to fill. But I am excited to see what he can do.
Numbers are kind of fabricated because they were kicking 10-yard point afters at a nearly a 99.9% success rate. So it's kind of padded, but. No, I'm stopping. Let's stop. I was going to destroy them. Somebody gonna jump up one day when they're gonna have some hot take about, man, let me break the numbers down. Like, let me explain. The game has been played completely different than what it was played before.
This dude is a machine. So,
but no, Vinatieri, I watched
Vinatieri is the
GOAT. I mean, I watched him in New England. I watched him. Then he went over to Indianapolis and kept doing. I'm like, come on, man, dude, stop.
Yeah. And Vinatieri is insane. So that is a good thing to mention because I do think that he is going to get some use this year. So if he can be consistent, if he can kind of, I think as long as he's 85 to 90% efficient with his field goals, Indianapolis will be just fine. I don't think Eddie Pinero is going to be losing them too many games.
Right. I don't see that either.
Yeah.
I mean, and this the other thing. They got Rodrigo over there, so they technically got 2 kickers, unless
are they just having a competition just to see if anybody can beat out Blankenship?
Possibly. I don't know. That's it was.
I forgot about it.
That's why I notated it. It was just kind of like, pick up a kicker. So okay, maybe
it's just for camp.
Okay, it could be. And I was gonna say, I was about to dare I say they were gonna run with 2 kickers. I mean, because I was only gonna say, remember, Blankenship did get injured last year.
True.
So
and maybe they're bringing in Pinero to be the kickoff specialist.
I was thinking that, like, maybe one just, one does
preserve his leg a little bit.
Yeah, and when one kicks him off, or he does the punting. I mean, the punter does the punting, but I was thinking something more like that.
Gotcha.
But
we'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's actually that gives me a lot to watch for Indianapolis in this preseason to see how they go about that, because
Yeah,
I'll actually be interested to see what they do there.
Yeah, I look at the obscure stuff. Like,
yeah,
kicker. Okay, what's going on over here?
I mean, because that's really the only reason why I watch preseason is to see rookies, like late round rookies who you don't really know too much about. You want to kind of see what they're all about, and then also kind of those weird competition things to kind of look out for later down the line.
Especially that last preseason game. There's a lot of interesting things to look for. Don't watch, you watch the game, but don't watch the
You're
game.
not really watching.
You're
watching players.
You're evaluating all kinds of things that ain't got nothing to do with what's going on that field.
I don't care what the score is.
48-0.
Who cares?
Just get out there, just run the play.
I think the one of the best stats that I've seen is both Cleveland and Detroit were both 4-0 in their preseasons where they went 0-16.
Say that again.
Both Cleveland and Detroit were 4-0 in the preseasons of the seasons that they went 0-16.
What kind of backwards stat is that?
It was something interesting. It's like, that's how much preseason does not, like, it's no indication of how good or bad a team ever is, because they literally went 4-0. They swept their preseason schedule and then just got absolutely ramrodded throughout the entire year. I've seen
it more times than not. That has been the correlation. Like, for
the better you do in
preseason success is it's the complete opposite of what happens in the regular season, and vice versa. Like,
well, and then I mean,
if you can go 0-4 and then be damn near fucking 12-4 in the regular season, 13.
That's 100% kind of in line with what happened with Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, in his year after his rookie season, he came out and he had he was 11-2 in touchdown to interception ratio. I think it was 2 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, something along those lines. It was a really crazy stat in the preseason. And then he went out that year and he didn't throw a single interception until I think it was week 10 or something like that. The end of the season with 50 touchdowns. It was again, that is, the preseason is no indication.
No, not at all.
You just get to watch guys when it comes to winning and losing. With preseason, it is good for fans anyway, is to watch just specific guys in specific scenarios to kind of see what talent and evaluate some of the talent that's on some of these rosters here.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's the equivalency of a mock draft in fantasy.
Yeah,
that's really all it is.
All right, let's talk about the 2020 AFC South champions, Tennessee Titans. They've had a quiet as kept pretty well outside of Julio Jones, but other than that, they've had a pretty quiet offseason, but I think it was kind of underrated. And they're not really talking about Tennessee's offseason as being one of these really, really big ones until they got Julio Jones.
No, but they like you've been saying, they quietly have been just picking up pieces,
getting better.
Yeah, from the draft all the way through the free agency period, they have just been quietly just picking up players. And I think Tennessee's always had the kind of that MO. They're not the best team, they're not the worst team, they're not even necessarily in the middle of the pack team. They just a good team that's got a lot of talent spread abroad throughout the organization. And now they just added a lot of more pieces. I mean, of course, the Julio Jones. Boom, definitely.
Yeah.
But all these other supporting pieces that you putting around that just to build the team back up, just to keep them in as that playoff contender that's looking to make that push to be a Super Bowl contender, because they kind of started to trend backwards a little bit. But after this offseason, I think they're gonna be right back in the thick of it, and that makes it interesting.
AFC is going to be interesting. I will say they did lose a couple of guys that I think are of note. On the offensive end, Corey Davis at wide receiver, losing him, that's not nothing. But picking up Julio Jones to replace him isn't nothing either. And then on the defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney. I know he didn't have his best season with Tennessee, but still he is a talent that I do think that he'd bring something to the game.
Don't need to be your best player. That's the thing.
And Malcolm Butler, also on the defensive end, defensive back, being lost to free agency as well. Obviously he hasn't been one of these shut down corners over the last couple of seasons, but he still is a dude that you would like to have on your roster, if not just for depth, but also as a starter. So I think that those were some notable losses, but the pickups that they've had, insane. I mean, they got Caleb Farley to replace Malcolm Butler in the draft. And also in the draft, they picked up Dylan Radon, who I think is one of the underrated tackles in the draft. And then in free agency, we already talked about it. Julio Jones, huge ad to replace Corey Davis. And then Bud Dupree from Pittsburgh. Man, that's just that alone. I know you've got more guys on your list, but still, just that alone
I got a bunch of guys on the list. They like you said, I couldn't put it better. They quietly just handle their business in the offseason. Yeah. Gosh, what these free agents? Where do I start?
After Bud Dupree.
You're right. What's his name? Kendall Land?
Kendall Land.
Did I write that wrong? Hold on. Kendall Lamb. I'm sorry. My writing is horrible. But offensive tackle, came over from Cleveland. I'm just looking from depth aspects that, and Tannehill can use all the
helps
he can use. I mean, Derrick Henry and preserving him, same difference. Do you even know who Derrick Henry's backup is by any chance?
Nope.
Brian Hill.
Won't need him.
No. I was just making a point that if they ever decided for some crazy reason to let's change the pace up, and go with he underachieved over in Atlanta, but I still think he's a solid backup. Like just saying, like okay, Derrick Henry is not going to be out there for every snap. At some point they're going to put him on the sideline for at least a play or two. I'm just, even if it was me, look, if I had to go with somebody for 3 plays, they're not putting out just Joe Blow.
Yeah.
Anybody. Don't go out there. Don't mess it up. Don't look for the
fumble.
ball. Don't ask for the ball. Don't do,
don't
stay
look
away
at the
from
ball.
the ball. Just run the route away from the play. You know what I'm saying?
Take your man and get him as far away from
Right. Brian Hill's a little more than that. So I was just saying that.
I mean, he is also only 26.
Yeah, my point being, like, Tennessee quietly had put together a really, really solid team. Like when I say they're like they're legit contenders this year, and I'm saying that like, okay, we already had Buffalo, we already had Baltimore, now we got Tennessee sitting there, like. So and we already got Cleveland. I'm sorry, you looking at me like
No, I wasn't.
Cleveland. I know I was missing somebody too, and we got Cleveland. That is 4 teams staring at Kansas City right now, like, yeah, we're next.
Yeah.
AFC is gonna be nice.
And I think I told you this a couple of weeks ago, maybe even just this past week. Honestly, I think the AFC is going to be much more interesting and much more stacked than the NFC this year. And there's obviously, no matter what, I'm watching football. It's not like I'm going to turn off NFC games, but I think just the level of talent that's at the top of the AFC and what the playoff race is going to look like, that is going to be one of the most exciting races that we've had in a long time, to see who finishes in first, who beats who's knocking off who. I don't really, even though I have Kansas City as the favorite, they are number 1 on my power rankings. It's no cakewalk in the AFC for them by any means. Like you said, you got those guys kind of sitting there waiting in the wings. And then after that, you've got teams like Indianapolis. You've got teams like Miami. You've got teams that are just still, even though they're not at the same talent level, they've got a lot of passion, they've got a lot of heart, and they've got a young roster that's not afraid of losing games. So they're going to go out and just play their game, and if they win, they win, and it's not going to be just a kind of a cakewalk of a game for you guys.
I'm telling you, better watch out. I agree. I'm sorry, I didn't want to say that like I wasn't listening. Agreed. Their defense is going to be insane this year.
Whose is that?
I'm talking about Tennessee.
Okay.
Hear me out. Already, D'Amico Archery came over from Indianapolis. Janorius Jenkins, cornerback, came over from New Orleans, and they picked up Kevin
Is
Johnson.
he starting at corner, or is he going to be the one of the backups?
I'm not sure because they brought in Kevin Johnson too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I have no idea. The point I'm looking at this depth, I'm just looking like another name.
And you got Caleb Farley, who you just drafted.
And now I'm gonna change. And now let me add this one. Just Chris Jones from Minnesota. I'm like,
it's insane. Like this team,
man. Like it ain't next man up. It's like your turn. It's just a rotation, like a revolving door. Next man up. We can keep these guys fresh the whole game. Just change them, interchanging these guys in and out.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm preparing for this take. I was kind of damn. Tennessee, man, they look nice.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I don't focus on the defensive end too much, but I was looking at these defensive players like, oh my goodness. Okay, so but that was my take. I just wanted to share that I think Tennessee is at that table. So there's 5 solid franchises, 5 solid teams coming out of the AFC this year. So
at least
6 and 7. Distant 6 and 7. I'm sorry. I'm just because whoever's the next team, it's just they're not going to be those 5 teams. It's just not. Whether that's a Miami or the Chargers, or you know what I'm saying.
You're putting Indy behind them that far back. You're putting Indy with
or Indianapolis. I'm sorry, Indianapolis might be 6.
Okay.
Indianapolis, like I was saying earlier, I have to see. There's still that first year type element. I gotta see y'all kind of put it together, but Indianapolis is 6. I'm gonna put them right there. So there will be that 16. Now, whoever that wild card 7 is, good luck. The rest of the league,
you can steamrolled by whoever's.
That's
what
I'm saying. I'm just saying. That's you basically what is that? We take 6 teams out of what? How many is on in the AFC? 16.
Yeah.
Like what you said. So yeah, 10 teams fighting for one seat. Good luck. Like whoever the 7.
I mean, and even that's going to be exciting to watch this year.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. This is like just top, middle, bottom. This is
because I don't think it's going to be a losing team that's going to get that spot in the AFC. Kind of
no, not at all.
The NFC East is.
That's what I mean. It's like
side. It's going to be it's going to be competitive.
It's like a play-in.
Yeah.
Like literally, like without even having a play-in element, it's just like, man, yeah, act like you want to lose in week 18 if you want to. You out of here. You ain't gonna lose and still get in.
And that's one of the other things that I was going to bring up is that in the AFC side of things, even if Kansas City is going to take the 1 seed, if they do get there, I don't think that they can. They're going to be a team that can just sit and kind of rest on their laurels in week 18. Like they're going to have to really fight for it, and I think it's going to come down to week 18 for them to win the conference.
Yeah, and they play Jacksonville.
Well, yeah, but
no. I understand it. I wasn't saying that in the aspect of they face. No, I mean like that's gonna be. I have that game notated.
Yeah. Okay.
That particular one. Don't ask me why.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we get to it.
Let's talk. I guess. Do you have anything else to add, or do we want to just jump into predictions?
No, we can go right into the predictions.
All right. Well, let's start with what I think we both agree with. Who's rounding out this division? Last place.
Last place. No, I mean obviously it has to be Jackson. No, it's Houston.
Okay.
Houston, Texas. Oh my God.
Where do you have them at though? Win-wise.
You really want to know?
Yeah.
Okay. I went through this roster. I went through that schedule so many times. I was like, okay, I'm being biased. I'm not being fair with this team. Is that really gonna happen? Can that? And yeah, so let's fast forward 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes over went by. 2-16.
Oh.
They can be as high as 5 wins. However, I got them at 2 wins.
I think I went middle of the road here. I went 4 wins.
I can't argue with it. Now hold on. I went through the schedule.
So did I.
So I actually have some games to notate with this where these are the 2 wins I see. Week 12 against the Jets. And week 15 against Jacksonville.
Hold on. I gotta get the schedule.
Again. Right there. You already had it up. You knew we were coming to.
I was on Indianapolis' schedule, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a tough game. That's a loss.
Now,
okay. Here's where I'm at.
I had remember I have 3 others that would be what would you as you called it the 50-50
50-50s.
game. But yeah, which would be week 1 against Houston.
You mean Jacksonville?
No, I'm sorry. Week 1 against Jacksonville. I'm running wrong.
Yeah.
Week 1 against Jacksonville. Check this out. Week 5 against New England.
That's one of my 50-50 games as well.
And week 7 against Arizona.
That's another 50-50. Another one that I have is Miami.
Yeah, I shied away from them. Go ahead.
I
can see that though.
Yeah, I can see Houston. Miami is a young team. So is Houston. It's just one of those weeks where it's like I could see Miami just kind of being like, we're at home. It's not necessarily a trap game. It's just I can just see them kind of getting lethargic in that game and just being like, okay, we can take a week off and get hit with this one,
right?
And then they just pick it up next week and beat whoever that is. But that's neither here nor there. The other one that I have that I think quiet as kept could be a tough. This could be a pretty close matchup. Is with the Chargers. December 26th. So
okay, week 16. Got it.
Yeah. So that it's not a game that I'm expecting the Chargers to lose. It's just it's on the road. So
I get it.
That's the only other thing. So those are the games. And obviously I have them beating the Jets.
Well, the Chargers on the road that game.
Yeah, the Chargers are coming to Houston. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I think that they could lose that game just having to travel.
Gotcha. That's fair. That's the thing, trying to figure out those games. Like when is that?
Because there's always a weird one every week where you're just like, how did you lose that game?
Right. Like, this is the one you lose the rent money on.
Yeah.
Because you just all in.
Easy win.
Right. Okay. And then you sitting there like, what in the world is I'm watching here?
Yeah. So, I think we're both on the same page with them there. I've got Jacksonville up next. Not too far ahead of them. They were 1-15 last year. I've got them at 5-12 this year.
Interesting, because I have them at the exact same record.
Yeah. I just think Trevor Lawrence is easily another 2 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they've done I gave their draft outside of Trevor Lawrence an extra win, and I gave another win for their free agency.
And that's a good way to evaluate it. But they with that being said, they got 5 wins. Does not mean that they're going to be non-competitive for 12 games. I think they may miss a few. Like they had it. They could have take these 3 games. Look at there, they 8-9. I think they're a legit team. That's what it. But hell, somebody has.
I just
think
that they're so young
that
with most of their 50-50 games, they're just not. They're like year away or they're.
Right, give them 4 of those.
I think that they're legitimate when we go make an NBA reference. I think they're a legitimate team that's 2 years away.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point where I'm like, I'm just looking for development out of these young pieces. That's it. I don't care about anything.
2 years away. And like when you asked me about how long it would take for Houston to turn around, I'm like at minimum 3.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, that's fair. And that's about where they are. And now they springboard. They just say they 5-12. 6-11, whatever. They win in 1 extra game. And then come next year, all of a sudden, they're damn near a 10-win team. Don't be shocked. Based on whatever they do in the next offseason, because for what they did here, man, you've seen that team last year. It could be an Arizona
situation where they were literally a win away from going to the playoffs.
Right. And do you remember they just rousted last year? And the year prior to that?
They literally had DJ Chark, Robinson, and nobody else. Gardner Minshew.
Right, Sam. And we still struggling over who was the quarterback before that.
Yeah. I realized that we forgot to mention that Blake Bortles used to be the quarterback. When we had that conversation, I actually went back and listened to it.
I forgot it was him. I
just
couldn't remember. I could not remember who it was. I'm like, I'm thinking, I thought it was maybe somebody after him, but no. I don't focus on them. Like, dude, I don't know when you came,
that team was so
when
bad.
you left. I just know you were over there. That's
speaking of, he just got cut with Aaron Rodgers coming back. They cut him.
You know what it'd be? They didn't even have to cut him, man. They could have just like, look, we'll give you Nick Foles. Just give us Greg Bortles. We just don't want Nick Foles no more. Just get him off our books.
I would not trade with the Packers regardless.
I mean, why would they trade a player they cutting?
Yeah.
Just to get another quarterback they don't want.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but that would be a good place for him. Go to Green Bay.
Well, do you think that they would? Oh, never mind. I'm not even gonna ask the question.
4 weeks from now, ask me that question.
Yeah.
But yes, I got him at 5-12.
I have him in the division 2-4.
Hmm.
I got them stealing a couple of games in this division.
Huh. You said 2-4, huh?
Yeah, 2-4 within the division. I don't think Indianapolis is ready in their first year to go on the road and beat a divisional opponent.
I got him 3-5.
What?
You said within the division, right?
They can't be 3-5. They only have 6 divisional games.
Oh, did I say 3-5?
You 3-3?
What am I thinking? Okay, I'm getting tired here. I'm trying to go based on the way I didn't write my notes out that way, so I'm trying to answer that based on how I wrote my notes. I'm counting wrong here, obviously.
I mean, just looking at the schedule.
You're right. 3-3.
Yeah, 3-3. Okay, yeah. But you think they can get Tennessee on the?
No, not at all.
At home, or they're beating Houston twice.
Not technically. I got them splitting with Houston, but I do have one of the games I think can go either way, which is the Week 15 game.
Gotcha. Okay.
However, is these based on wins or losses? Week 16 against the Jets, and then Week 18 against Indianapolis, which is what I was saying. I think that can be the possible trap.
Remember, the Jets are not in this division.
Did I say Jets again?
Yep.
You know what? I even wrote my notes. That's supposed to be Houston.
We had a whole discussion before this.
I'm sorry.
He accidentally put the Jets in the South.
I keep putting the Jets down where the Houston, Texas name is supposed to be, and man, I am getting super confused. But it's like that, man, because Houston and the Jets are so bad. They like interchangeably the same team to me. So in my mind, like,
but at least the Jets hopefully have a quarterback.
I'm sitting here.
All right, well, let's just talk about Indianapolis. Let's move off.
Go ahead, and I'm gonna come back to that. Just give me a second.
I've got Indianapolis. I can see them anywhere from that like 9-8 range. I can honestly see them going all the way up to 12-5. But like you said, they do have a pretty tough schedule. So it's kind of up in the air. I kind of went with a more I think it's conservative, but I also think that it's pretty much realistic that they could go 11-6 this year. I do think that they're going to be neck and neck with Tennessee in this division.
Got it.
So I'm just at a position where I think that they're going to drop one on the road. Like, they're going to have these weird, like, they're going to be really competitive in games that you would think that they're going to have a tough time in.
Yep.
I do have them losing right out of the gate against Seattle. But then I have them being kind of 50-50 against the Rams in the bounce back in week 2. So, it's all kind of up in the air on.
What did you get them in week 1?
A loss. They're losing against Seattle.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
I said I can even visualize it. Just some kind of way.
And I'm just gonna see the whole. I already know that there's gonna be this whole at the beginning of the year. Is Carson Wentz ever gonna get back to his 2017 MVP form type of thing? And then they play Seattle. I don't think they're gonna get ramrodded. I think it's gonna be a close game, and Carson Wentz might not just do something heroic to win the game. I don't think he's necessarily going to lose the game for him, but I can just see them dropping that, and then they're going to be like, oh, you let Seattle come into your turf and all this, that, and the other, and you got beat.
To be fair, they have a very difficult schedule.
They do. They do not have any. They play the entire NFC West.
Every time we come across one, I am going to make a note of, like, this is a very tough schedule.
They play the NFC West and they play the AFC North. So, with that alone, that's difficult. and then you also have to play Buffalo.
Yeah.
So not an easy division in the slightest. Or sorry, easy schedule in the slightest. But let's talk. I mean, so I put them at like an 11-6 record. Do you have them? I know you're not high on their schedule, so I'm gonna just assume you went 10-7.
Close. 9-8.
9-8. Okay.
However, I do have a variation of them getting up to 10 wins.
Up to.
There's one game like I notated 50-50 game where I'm like, if they lose or win this one, I can see them being at 10. But I went with the under. So
okay,
I got them at 9-8. I don't think they're a 9-8 team. I don't like their schedule. Their schedule is horrible, and I'm like, yeah, great team, bad schedule. It's asking a little too much out of me to. I can see some of these, even these top teams, I can see them beating them, but it's really trying to figure out which one because they're not beating them all.
No, they're not.
So I don't want to even want to go. I didn't even want to go down that road of trying to say it's got to be that one.
I will say they do get a little bit of a reprieve at the end of the year. I mean, obviously they have to travel to Arizona, which is not always the easiest thing.
True.
But still, I still think Arizona is a year away. So, that's just me.
And I got them as a win in week 16. So
okay,
I got them. I thought about that. I'm like, Arizona is not this lockdown. We are 7-1, 8-0 team at home. No, y'all decent, but be beat at home.
And then they got the Raiders, who, I'm not expecting to do anything major this year, especially if they're not trading for a quarterback. And then they finish out the season against the Jaguars. It's again on the road. I could see that one going either way. I'm not saying that it's really 50-50. I could see them dropping this game, but I still think that they could win it. So
that might be where your 10th win is. It's that Vegas game. I put them down as a loss. It's one of them weird games. I'm like, because that's like the 7th. Ain't that 17th game, or is that not
for them? No, the 17th game for Indy.
No. They got wait a minute.
It's going to be an NFC team that came in second place last year.
How are they playing Vegas, though?
How are they playing Vegas?
Meaning they don't play anybody else in that division.
Vegas came in second place last year.
I don't understand how that works anymore. Don't explain. Don't. It's fine. Fine. It's a part of that formula. Okay.
I'll show you the formula when we're off air.
I was just.
I guess I could, because I can explain it for.
Oh, go right ahead.
Our viewers as well. Basically, how scheduling now works, if you don't know, I know many people do, but basically, it's all based off of your record or based off of your seeding in the prior year. So, you play a certain division within your conference. So this year for the AFC, they are playing the North. For the South, they're playing the North. So they play everybody in the North. They have the Raven. Oh, no. It's not the North for them. It's the East for them. So they're playing everybody in the AFC East. Then you play a division from the other conference as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing the NFC West.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have then you play your division 6 times. That makes it, what is that, 14 games. So we got 3 games to make up. 2 of them are the other within your conference, the other 2 divisions that you don't play. Mm-hmm. You play the team that placed in the same seeding that you did. So Indianapolis came in second place. AFC North, the Ravens came in second place. They're playing them.
Right.
And who was the other team then? Vegas. They came in second place. So they're playing them as well. And then the last game is the interconference second place versus another division. That would have to be, trying to look who it is on their schedule. Is that Arizona?
I think it's got Arizona or Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay came in second place. So yes, it's Tampa Bay.
Kept thinking Tampa Bay in the West. I'm like, nowhere near West. because I kept looking at them like, hey, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no, it's Tampa Bay. You're right.
Yeah, so it's more the record. I mean, more the schedule so much than their team. I think their team is going to be much better than what their record is going to indicate this year.
Yeah.
If they get 10 wins, like I said, I'm if they get over 10, I'm surprised that at that point, just based on their schedule. But it would also tell me they're that team.
I'm 100% in. If you take the quarterback out of it, I'm 100% on this roster. Like, I think this is one of the best rosters in the NFL, in all honesty. And then let alone you're talking about the AFC. Like, even though the AFC is stacked, like,
yeah,
I think that this is one of the best rosters in the entire league. You added in a quarterback like Carson Wentz, who's a question. He's a legitimate question. Right. If he's, like I said, if he's playing 2019 Carson Wentz, that would give me closer to being that 9-8, 10-6, just because people have seen this roster before. They've got a tough schedule, like you were saying. But if he's anything like the 2017 or 2018, really,
right,
I think that gets him another 2 wins. So I could see them getting to all the way up to 12-5. In all honesty,
with that,
it's really depending on Carson Wentz's play.
Definitely, at that point, from what you're sharing, at that point, they can easily be division winners and division champs, and no questions about it. But again, I have to see this year play out. It's just I'm just waiting,
and that's why I didn't give them the division win. I gave it back to Tennessee because they are the reigning defending champions of this division, and there's too many questions at quarterback right now for Indianapolis for them to be able to win it yet. Once we start seeing them play, and if Carson Wentz is what I think that he actually is, he's not. I think that it's more of 2020 was an outlier more than 2017 was an outlier for Carson Wentz's career, in my opinion.
That's what this year is going to tell us.
Exactly. So I need to wait and get confirmation on that, and then once that confirmation comes through, I'm all in on Indianapolis.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
So that's that. Tennessee, though, I have them 12-5. I got them winning the division, 5-1 within the division. This team, like you said, the additions that they've made are insane. They've made up for what they've lost for in most of those areas. They do have a couple of holes, but in all honesty, I think that the rookies are going to be able to come in and be successful. Julio Jones, I'm ready to see if he can have a kind of second coming of his career. Offensive line wise, that those upgrades there are I think are going to give them a lot of depth. And then you add a Pro Bowl, all defense player like Bud Dupree. I cannot possibly say this team got worse. So I think that they're going to be right there in the running. I think this is going to be a team that's going to be very hard to defeat. And if you do get a win on them, you got to be really, really excited because that's going to be a hard fought win. And we didn't even mention this, Mike Vrabel, the way that he coaches his roster to play just gritty, hard nose, hand in the dirt, like we're going to just basically, you're running downhill all day long. We're going to hit each other. We are going to make sure you feel us and that you're getting as much punishment as you possibly can to bring down our guys. And then on the defensive end, we want to make sure that to come through here or get any sort of yardage with us, you are going to feel the hits that we lay on you. Mm-hmm. The way that he coaches the team to be able to do that, I think Mike Vrabel is also that kind of X factor in this division. I'm hoping for Indianapolis, Frank Reich is also that guy, but I just haven't seen it from him. So Tennessee-wise, I think Mike Vrabel is definitely the best coach in this division as it stands right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at these games.
But 12-5 is what I
think that's about accurate. I was fluctuating between. I mean, I settled at 11-6.
I do have 12-5 at the high end because I don't see them getting to 13 wins.
Yes, I took the medium. I had them as low as 10. I could see them as high as 12. I chose 11.
Okay.
Took the push.
Yeah.
I was like, give me 11. So anywhere in there, 10 is really pushing it down. But I mean, yeah.
If they don't get to 11 wins, I'll actually be a little bit surprised.
And I'm only saying it again. They
in the context of not having any injuries.
Right. They got some weird things on there. A couple of weird teams on this schedule. Like that damn Pittsburgh game in week 15. I don't like that. I don't like going to
I've
Pittsburgh
also told you that I'm out on Pittsburgh.
I know what you said. Late in the season, having to go to Pittsburgh. You're a dome. Well, no, you're not a dome.
No,
team.
Dome team.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
You're a Southern team. Playing in cold weather. I don't know. It's December 19th, man.
I know it's gonna be cold, but it is still.
I'm just saying, Pittsburgh is just not an easy place to win it. I don't care who you are. I don't care how bad. It does not.
Usually, though, Pittsburgh has a running game. I know they got Najee Harris, but that's literally all they have, and they have a very, very bad offensive line. So I'm not really too worried about.
Great, not week 3. It's week 15. All I'm saying
it's in the cold. That's what I'm saying.
No. I guess I'm speaking to more as. Yeah, I think some of those things will be addressed and fixed to some degree. Maybe they won't. I'll just say I believe. This is part. You asked me. Look, I let you have your 12-5. Now let me have my 11-6.
This one game.
I have a problem with this Pittsburgh game.
Okay.
In Pittsburgh, I don't like it.
You're gonna have to come over and watch that game.
I don't like it. I don't like the fact that they got to go and and then they get San Francisco the next week. I just don't even like how it sets itself up. So it's distracting because that's maybe that's just how I think. I'm sitting there trying to focus and play.
Wait a minute. Where'd you move San Francisco to on your power rankings?
Where did I move them to?
Yeah.
I don't worry about where I moved
because now you're saying you're worried about San Francisco late in the season.
Yeah, because I am.
We'll get to the
my power rankings. No, I'll
West.
tell you real quick. I told you I revised it.
Yeah.
I have San Francisco at 12 now.
And Tennessee.
And I had them back originally at 21.
Oh, yeah. No, that's
I told you I had to adjust that. It was early.
Yeah. And then you have what? Tennessee 7? 6, 7?
7.
Oh, I got it right on.
I had to revise. I had to revise it. It was at 9 though, but I mean, it's supposed to correspond. With
I got it. I know exactly. I'm just proud of myself for getting that one right on the head.
Right, you got it right on the nose. Right. I got him at 7.
I mean, let me just look at this, see where I put the Tennessee Titans. I moved them to 9.
See, I had them at 9 and moved them to 7.
Yeah, and then I have San Francisco with you right there at 12. Because I used to have Tennessee at 12.
I don't remember. I had originally, I had Tennessee at 7. No, I'm sorry. I originally had them at 9.
Okay.
And at the time, because I had to adjust it, I had Indianapolis at 7. But told you I like what I see and what they did quietly here in Tennessee. I'm like, I gotta change that. But when at the time, I stand by them being 9 and Indianapolis being 7. Just it was a lot of changes since that time. So that it factored more into that.
2 big signings.
Right. It had a lot to do with that. Not so much, oh my God, I just completely missed on this one. No. It just and at the end of the day I moved them 2 spots.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that is a good place to stop here. AFC South is going to be interesting at the top. I mean, unfortunately, I just don't think Jacksonville and Houston are going to be able to compete for playoff spots anyway.
No. You're right. I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, Houston sucks, but I mean, Jacksonville's interesting. I'm talking
about in the grand scheme of things, in like the NFL spectrum. No, I'm seeing the bottom half of this division is not going to be really competing for any spots. I don't see them in even wild card position, but I do see them giving some of those wild card teams and even some teams that might even make the playoffs a real good run for their money this year.
Yeah, and that's like taking Jacksonville as an example. That's not a bad 5-12. That's an improvement.
That's a really. I mean, they're coming from 1-15.
As I was saying, that's leaps and boundaries. Yeah. As opposed to these, Texans anywhere between 2 to 4 wins.
Yeah, they're basically if they get to 4 wins, that's basically you're stagnant at being bad. Because they were at 4 wins last year, I think. Maybe 5.
Probably. But I wanted to make sure that they were going to be 32 this year. 2-16.
Yeah.
And not a stretch. I mean, we just watched the team that was 1-15. So I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. I looked at the schedule. And I'm like, man, I looked at their team. I like your pieces, but I've seen the pieces on the other teams. Man, you better take your 2 wins and get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, so I agree with you there. But then the top half of this division, I think they're both making the playoffs, and I think that they're just going to be two really formidable teams.
Yes.
Again, remains to be seen what we're getting out of Carson Wentz this year, but
wait a few more weeks, and all these questions will be answered.
There's a lot of things going to be getting answered real soon. Biggest thing is, I guess what we could say the question of the day. We won't go Vegas odds this week.
No Vegas odds.
Do you think Deshaun Watson? 1, will Deshaun Watson play this season? And 2, if he does play, where do you think he may get traded to?
Okay.
So,
do I believe that Deshaun Watson will play this season in 2020?
2021, 2022.
Right. Or and if so, where would he be traded to?
Yeah, because I think we're all under the impression if he is playing, he's
right.
He's not in Houston. So
yeah.
So those are the questions there.
All right. I think I'm gonna actually answer that now. I mean, not now on the air. I'm gonna answer it online.
All right. Cool. We can have a discussion about it down below. Please, again, like, rate, and subscribe to the show.
And to Mr. Decal, please let us put the question out first before you start answering, so followers can understand what's being answered. Just throwing it out there.
I mean, I guess he is listening to the show too. So
he is. I ain't trying to give him a hard time, but let us put the question out.
We want it to be a thread, so
yes, definitely a thread that we can follow.
But yes, go ahead and answer that question. Let's have a discussion about it down below, and then also just share the show as much as you can. We want to continue to grow here, and Twitter, follow us there at @the_square pod. All right, thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Y'all have a good night.